it has not been available, but it's because of some last-minute considerations. We will, however, continue to keep you posted. In other news, even though Ghana is making strides towards achieving some key Millennium Development Goals, it appears increasingly unlikely the MDG target to significantly reduce maternal and newborn deaths will be achieved. 350 out of every 100,000 babies die at birth at the moment. The goal is to halve this figure to 185 in the next 2 years. To help fast-track this goal in the limited time available, the Mama Ye Ghana campaign, the Ghana version of a program to tackle the problem in 5 sub-Saharan African countries, has been launched in Accra.
On a daily basis, it is said that 7 women die from causes related to pregnancy and childbirth, and 3 babies die every hour during childbirth. The main challenges inhibiting the achievement of the goal has to do with availability, affordability and accessibility to quality health care. The Ghana campaign is a collaborative effort between the School of Public Health of the University of Ghana and the Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights.
Mama is a public engagement strategy of E4A. In this, the E4A project has provided a platform where all groups working in the maternal and newborn health area can come together and put out messages to engage the general public. The Mama Ye campaign has a website put out by E4A, owned by all the groups that are involved. And there's general technical information about maternal and newborn health in Ghana. And there are also stories about people whose lives have been saved and people who contribute to save the lives of mothers and babies.
Former CEO of the Chamber of Mines, Dr. Joyce Aye, who launched the program, challenged various stakeholders to see to its execution.
I'm also glad that there is collaboration and coordination. That is what this country needs the most. And my challenge to the Ministry of Health is that none of our ministries will be a standalone ministry, and that all the ministries will recognize that they have to synergize, so that ministries will form groupings that will make sure that when one minister takes a policy decision, the other ministers who are thereby affected also come along and ensure that there is real change.
Former Deputy Minister of Health, Rojo Metonunu, commended the Alliance for championing the issue of maternal and newborn survival.
The Ministry of Health will give its full commitment to the Mama Ye movement, will give its full commitment to the zero tolerance for maternal and infant deaths. Whatever it is that we can do to improve facilities in our health centers, we will do. Whatever training initiatives, whatever short-term upgrading we will do. We'll also roll out a very vigorous community health workers program to empower a lot of our health professionals in the rural areas. And we'll also provide training for various stakeholders so that you're also capable of being part of the Mama Ye chain.
As excessive bleeding before and after birth is one of the major causes of maternal deaths, the Mama Ye Ghana campaign will also embark on a national blood donation campaign to ensure blood stocks improve.
The Odumase Presby Primary School may not be a school under a tree, but considering the threats confronting it, the pupils could probably be better off under one. The pupils are presently in such a rundown structure, it could be best described as a disaster waiting to happen. Etonam Say reports pupils aged between 6 and 11 live in fear, not knowing what will happen the next minute.
This building you see is not a bakery in some village in the remotest parts of the country. It is a school building here in the Lower Manyakrobo district of the Eastern region, made from mud bricks by the missionaries who established it in 1888. It currently houses a little over 600 pupils who have to grapple with roof leakages and life-threatening cracks in the structure because there has never been a renovation. Assistant headmistress of the school, Josephine Azanda, is worried, adding, teaching and learning have become a Herculean task.
Now, in fact, the condition is very bad. It's almost a death trap because sometimes when it's about to rain and the wind is blowing, it's very dangerous being in that classroom. And the ceiling too has been made with a wood. So part of it has been off. And sometimes when the children are in the classroom, you see dust, rubbish, and falling from the top of the ceiling.
As fate will have it, the JHS stream was in the similar state until December 2008, when it collapsed and killed a 12-year-old pupil and severely injured several others. Luckily for the school, a communication network intervened and built this new JHS to replace the collapsed one.
I fear that something similar could have happened in future. So we need assistance immediately, maybe to avoid what happened previously.
Every effort to speak with the district chief executive, Isaac Akpotete, proved futile, and he literally refused to speak with us. Until the school is pulled down and rebuilt, pupils will have to continue to live in fear, probably wishing they could find some tree to perch under in the meantime. Etonamsi, Joy News.
Now, 3 cars were involved in a crash on the Tema-Akosombo Highway yesterday. Etonamsi again, who chanced upon the accident, reports there were no deaths.
According to eyewitnesses, this Renault truck with registration number WR668U carrying 7,200 tubers of yam fell on its side, blocking a significant portion of the road. They explain a 40-footer Mercedes-Benz truck with registration number GR5835-12 carrying bananas from Akosombo to Accra ignored warnings by road safety volunteers about the blockade further ahead and ran into another cargo truck with registration number GT4484-A coming from the opposite direction. The driver of the Mercedes-Benz truck is said to have mistaken the volunteers to be armed robbers because of reported incidents of highway robbery on the road. Both drivers who sustained serious degrees of injuries were rushed to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra and VRA Hospital at Akosombo. The driver of the Renault truck that first blocked the road, Amadou Al-Hassan, spoke to Joy News.
Nami me pese me ndakakra. Nami di ma menu abi oni so say driver. Ye bae mi chense won ye kakra. Ye koduro aha. Ohono road we no. Aha no. Nam na oba speed na doso. So satam no odro ho na efrese satam no odro ho na kana bompo ho bompo na yafa stairs no na kana pese won yanko egrom no na watane no ba bofoma ha.
Meanwhile, the owner of the cargo was devastated.
Say by any na bubugu no we ko ha ono de oya na fa ho nyina omompe na de bubu nso so no this be a man na omo eboabo no the price of pen or the amount so ko bushi on ma timi to be 4 million 4.5 they all go best on low cost pla or bushi on mo pla ay 1.5 on sa en from ma me dre ha no na say ka bebre mo mbelodu mo just any ma bebre keten sa obeka bom na is ka bebre se ba ire go no mo no mo za mo ba yen na ma edin am gina ho.
Chief Police Inspector Emmanuel Ntuswo of the Koyumu Police Station cautioned drivers to slow down on the highway, adding that this particular stretch is becoming notorious for accidents.
Management of Prairie Volta Rice at Avayime says the company will grind to a halt in 2 months if government does not provide urgently needed funds to support its operations. Officials explain the company has already drawn its last harvest, which, if milled, will make its plant completely redundant until more rice is cultivated. They, however, say if government, which has a 30% stake, will inject its share of the operational capital it promised, new seeds can be planted.
The company currently produces about 8,000 tons of rice annually on a 750-hectare farm at Aveyime. Machinery at the project site can mill more than 3 times the current quantity of rice it is milling. Since 2009, management has proposed the expansion of the project to cultivate 2,000 hectares of rice, but funding has impeded the expansion works. Everett Anderson is the managing director of the Prairie Volta Rice. He highlighted the problems facing the company and the agency needed to raise about $1.5 million as working capital to keep the company running.
The holdup is money, operating money. Almost 2 years ago now, we were promised money, and they said, look, we'll give you half of it now, and we'll give you the other half when you perform under this first half. So we performed under the first half. We did about 20% better than projected in terms of hectares developed and work and so on. And then suddenly the bank started pulled away, and they never came forward with the second tranche. We got, 500, 800 tons in the silos now that we're milling. When that's milled, we won't have any more to sell until we have some more produced. It normally takes about 120 days to produce a crop. If you're talking about getting the 2,000 hectare level, need about $5 million. $5 million to go from our 750 to 2,000 hectares. To go to the 6,000 level, we need around $25 million.
Member of Parliament for the area, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, who visited the company to acquaint himself with its operations, tells Joy News the situation is dire and calls for urgent action.
I think it's also about prioritization, because we find money to do all kinds of things. And you look at this project, it's about rice. And we always complain about the drain on the economy with the huge importation of rice, sometimes to the tune of $600 million a year. If we have a rice factory here, we can produce in Ghana and we consume. So we just need to prioritize, and we just need to focus on what will keep our economy going, what will create jobs for our people, and what will bring the dignity of life that we all deserve as Ghanaians. So,
in a related development, management of the Volta Textiles Limited, formerly called Drop-on Textiles, is asking government to inject 3.5 million Ghana cedis into the factory to make it operate in full capacity. Production at the factory dropped and several hundreds of workers have lost their jobs, making the skeletal workers remaining to take to the streets 2 years ago. Now, the company is operating at 25% of its capacity, but management says it needs just 3.5 million Ghana cedis to make it operate fully. Technical Director of Volta Star Textiles, Evans Ajagbo, tells Joy News in spite of the financial challenges, the company is making some progress.
We have since also increased our volumes. At the time, I think I mentioned we were operating at just about 8% plant efficiency. We are now about 25% of plant utilization, which is quite good. GTP came to our aid. What we could not do at 2011 was to get money to source cotton. Okay, so we enter into a tolling arrangement with Textiles Ghana Limited, and they provided us with our cotton requirement.
Workers of the company who went on a demonstration in 2011 say their salaries have seen some modest improvements, but they want government to set up a board to oversee the operations of the company. Bright Sikanku is the local union chairman.
Our salaries have improved a bit, but we still appeal to government to give us board and then some capital injection. This place is a viable company that when government gives us capital injection, the place will grow and it will employ the unemployed youth.
MP for Northern Constituency Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa tells Joy News Ghana cannot afford to let this big local industry go down.
This is a plant with huge potential at the height of of its capacity in the glorious days, more than 2,000 people were being employed here. As we speak today, there are less than 700 people here, according to the technical director. So my focus as an MP will be to raise the needed attention to be able to secure the necessary commitment from the executive and also from the private sector.
Benjamin Tetes reports for Joy News.
All right, we're taking a break. We'll be back shortly. The ongoing rationing of water by the Ghana Urban Water Company should come to an end in about 28 days. Officials of GUWCL gave President John Mahama their word when he toured the Weja water treatment plant today. The president was also at the Bong treatment plant, where the project supervisor said ongoing works at a new intake station should be completed ahead of schedule.
The water drawn from here is purified at the plant before it gets to your home. President Mahama toured the facility to be familiar with the real challenges confronting them and how to deal with it. He first visited the intake point at the Weja dam site, where he was briefed on the peculiar difficulty in making the water potable enough for consumption.
And one of the problems here is the encroachment, the activities of the people around here. Yeah, okay. You can see that when it rains, all their waste come into the river. Yeah. So the treatment of this water is quite difficult and expensive in terms of chemical costs.
At the treatment plant itself, the president was taken through the various processes required to make the water potable, with officials explaining what prompted the current rationing program. It emerged during the explanation that some instructions given by the sector minister Collins Dauda for officials to fix faulty filters had not been complied with.
It's taking too long, my brother. I was here about 2 weeks ago and we all agreed that it has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed by Balasnedam. We had a meeting with them. It didn't take me 2 weeks.
No, they said they will submit the proposal some 2 days before the end of the week.
So, Chief, when are you bringing the proposal?
Do you want the inspection this afternoon and tomorrow? And before the weekend, we try to put the proposal in. Okay. So, Friday.
Friday. Right. And I hope by the middle of next week, instruction can go.
Faulty filters were one of the reasons given by the water company for the water rationing. When put back in operation, 3.5 million gallons of water would be produced. In a short meeting with the workers of the plant, President Mahama said urgent attention needs to be paid to cutting down on how much of their production goes waste and revenue collection.
I've seen the problem with the filters and all that. We're going to work and fix the filters. This plant, we should be able to produce the maximum of 54 million gallons because Accra is a growing city. So at least even with what we have as the installed capacity, let's ramp it up to full production so that we know that we're feeding enough water into the system. Together with you, we're going to work so that we can improve the distribution system. I'm told that almost 40% of the water that you treat gets lost in the system. Either people tap it illegally or there are burst pipes or incidents like that that make you lose a lot of that water. We should work together over the years to reduce to a minimum the amount of water that is unaccounted for.
At the plant facility, a supervisor, Albert Ojiri, spoke of plans to fast-track the project to finish ahead of the June 2015 deadline.
And this intake is being constructed.
This is the intake after construction.
Yeah, it will deliver 80 million gallons of raw water. So all the pumps for the first phase will be in place. Okay. And then the civil works for all the pumps for the second phase will also be done under this phase. Okay. We also made provision for the pipeline from here across the road, at least, up to a point. Yes, the water pipeline for the future. Yeah. So that in the future we won't have to come and cut the road again. Okay. We'll just continue with the pipeline.
President Mahama called for extra efforts to fix the perennial water problems.
We need to keep ahead of the growth in demand. You know, I'm sure that this project, if we do phase 1, bring in another 40 million gallons, we should immediately start working on phase 2 to increase to 80 million gallons, because the rate at which the city is growing, if we don't keep one step ahead of them, then always we'll have problems with shortages. I can't wait for this to come on stream, because there are traditionally water-starved areas in the city. You know, everybody knows about Denta and the water problem. And if this problem will solve that permanently, then I will sleep a very happy man.
The facility on contract to China Gezuba Company would supply Adenta, Tema, and the northern part of Accra when completed. Gifty Ando Apia for Joy News.
Members of the majority in Parliament have expressed their appreciation to the President for his State of the Nation address last week, describing it as one of hope that will unite Ghanaians and transform the economy. The minority NPP MPs who were present in the chamber, however, declined to contribute.
Member of Parliament for Myong, Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan, moved the motion for the House to thank the President for delivering the State of the Nation address.
Mr. Speaker, the President noted that energy and petroleum are subjects that are very dear to the House of Ghanaians. The President has said that he's devoting considerable energy to solving the energy crisis, and he needs the cooperation of all Ghanaians. The West Africa gas pipeline is scheduled to be completed by April, and that should bring in some energy to upgrade the situation as we have it today, so that the lives off that we're experiencing will be a thing of the past.
Several MPs, particularly from the majority side, supported the motion.
I just want the President to thank him very much for addressing us as a nation, and I want to also assure him that he has a majority of parliamentarians who are ready to take fully their parliamentary responsibilities under the laws and constitution of Ghana. We will support him in advancing his Better Ghana agenda.
I support the President's initiative that we should integrate kindergartens, because in the countries where educational values are regarded very high and have been transmuted into development, such as Japan and the Scandinavian countries, use the same kind of initiative, that children go to kindergartens to learn, to prepare themselves for the basic education, for primary education, thus moving into the secondary level education, and then finally the tertiary education. I will give that to...
Next up, we bring you business news. The Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Millicent Na, has described payment systems in West Africa as cumbersome, underdeveloped, fragmented, costly and inefficient. Despite the over 2 decades of financial reforms, he noted that this has remained a key impediment to sub-regional trade and the quest to achieve a common market. He was speaking at an interaction with the media after a roundtable discussion on switch integration in West Africa.
The World Bank is primarily using the roundtable as a collaborative instrument and organizing approach for a technical and exploratory discussion with national switch operators from Ghana, Nigeria and UAMOA region. The objectives are to have a discussion concerning the technical aspects related to the payment infrastructure, network services and business models, and to develop a strategic roadmap that shows possible paths to the future of cross-border payments in ECOWAS. The Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Millicent Na, says the integration should send a clear signal that policy harmonization and coordination are imperative for the success and durability of any economic integration.
In fact, for us, we would even wish that we didn't even have ATMs. We would rather prefer that we have point-of-sale terminals at all the merchants' place of business. For example, Makula, if you go to the Makula woman, you should have the point-of-sale terminal. When you buy an item, you just use your card, just swipe it, and you make the payment. Cash is, eliminated from the transaction because it costs the central bank so much money to print cash. So our vision is to ensure that many people in the system, in the country, adopt the use of cards for payment of transactions in the country. And that's the greatest challenge we are facing at the moment.
He explained that the interbank payment system helps cut down robberies, adding that illiteracy is not an excuse to stay off the platform.
It's partly the case that illiteracy can play a role. But if you ask me, I mean, people are not literate, but they're using the mobile phones extensively, okay? And if you look at what CAPES is doing, they have the biometric feature. So you don't even need to use any letters. All you need is your fingerprint, a thumb, to open the system for you to make payments. So, I mean, it's not so much illiteracy. It has a role to play, but it is the adoption rate which is quite slow.
The dialogue will involve, among other areas, a focus on identifying policy priorities and other crucial needs for capacity building that senior officials need to be aware of relating to enhancing domestic payment services, harmonization and integration of technical platforms in order to facilitate cross-border payment services.
Now, banking just got more convenient thanks to the introduction of the deposit-taking automated teller machines. It means you can now not only withdraw money from the ATM, but deposit money as well without having to go into the banking hall. Derek Welalom Johnson has been finding out more about the new ATMs.
Barclays Bank, the only financial institution operating the machines, describes them as intelligent ATMs. It says the user-friendly ATMs were first introduced on a pilot basis late last year. Managing Director Benjamin Dabra explains how it works.
So it's very similar to withdrawing cash. The risks are not higher. We put in your notes, and then it will actually sort the notes out itself into the various denominations, and then a message will appear on the screen telling you the total amount of money you have put in and asking you to confirm whether you agree or not. The transaction will only be processed if you agree. Again, that is one of the reasons why we call it an intelligence ATM, because it interacts with you the way a teller would interact with you. It actually tells you step by step what you need to do. You don't have to have prior knowledge. You don't have to remember anything. If you put your card in and you just follow the instructions on the screen, it will tell you what to do. As long as you have an ATM card of some sort that allows you to use our ATMs, you can actually come and deposit. The only condition is that you can only deposit money into Barclays accounts.
He says the technology should reduce the risk of holding on to large sums after banking hours.
First of all, the most important consideration for us is convenience for our clients. We've got the feedback from our customers over and over again that it's too cumbersome doing business in this country. You have to go through traffic to the nearest branch, then you have to queue, and you have to go at a time that is convenient to the bank, right? This provides 24-hour banking. You can go when you want. There's been a lot of talk in this country around providing access to formal banking for the unbanked. Any attempt or any strategy that relies on people building brick and mortar branches all across the country will not work because the cost of maintaining a branch is very high. We believe that this is one way of actually reaching every part of Ghana without necessarily building branches. For security reasons, a lot of people set their ATMs not to dispense large sums of money at a go. But we have ATMs that dispense 800 Ghana cedis at a go.
He talks about other technologies the bank intends to roll out.
The most exciting one for me is the money transfer service that allows you to withdraw your money from an ATM without having an ATM card. We call this cash send, where basically if you want to send money to your mother or to your daughter in school, you literally send them an SMS and they walk to a Barclays ATM without an ATM card and they take the money out. It can dispense airtime, vouchers. It's a combination of our ATM service and our mobile banking service.
At least 2 other banks are in the process of also deploying deposit-taking ATMs, a technology which should soon become a regular feature of the banking industry.
Now, just when domestic air travel is turning out to be an increasingly attractive way to go around the country, airfares have been increased. Effective today, Passengers will have to pay 15 Ghana cedis more across board for their flights to Kumasi, Takrady and the other domestic destinations. It comes after weeks of erratic supply of the products which have aviation fuel, which have forced the airlines to suspend operations a few times. They, however, deny the increase has anything to do with the recent difficulties in getting the fuel, explaining they have simply decided to pass on part of the cost of aviation fuel to passengers just so they could stay afloat. A litre currently costs $1.30. The cheapest one-way air ticket to Kumasi, which costs 50 Ghana cedis, will now cost 65 cedis after the increase. Meanwhile, Joy Business has learned some stocks of aviation fuel have come in and should keep the domestic airlines flying, at least for the next few weeks. The international airlines will, however, still have to grapple with supply difficulties a while longer, following a decision to prioritize the current allocations for just the domestic carriers. The flights out of Accra to international destinations as a result will for now be rerouted through a neighboring country so the aircraft gets enough fuel to send you all the way. The Credit Unions Association is confident Parliament will pass a credit union bill this year to provide an enabling environment for members to sustain their operations. The association feels threatened by activities of other microfinance companies in competition for clients due to the absence of a legal framework to regulate unions. Immediate past chairman of the association in the Ashanti region, Anthony Augustine Edu, tells Live Business Report the passage of the bill is critical in alleviating poverty in the country. Meanwhile, public interest continues to grow in the concept of credit unions. Easy Investment Cooperative Credit Union, at its second annual general meeting in Kumasi, recorded 358% increase in net profit. Up next, we bring you smart investment tips and some market data. The biggest news in sports now has to do with John Paintsel. There's some news coming in about the Ayew brothers.
Big news. They have decided to quit the Black Stars temporarily. The reasons, we'll be talking to Nathanato, of course.
Temporarily. Let's just hope that it's very temporary.
The drama on the football scene in Ghana is just too much for us already. And there was another twist to the Paintsel story as well. And we're going to be talking more about that, surely.
We have all that coming up after this short break.
The former coach of the Black Stars, Emmanuel Afani, wants to follow example of successive teams or successful teams at the just ended Nations Cup by incorporating more locally based players into the senior national team. The Black Stars failed to make it to the finals of the tournament in South Africa, with the World Cup qualifiers beckoning. There have been heavy talks of beefing up the team with key players. Now, Emmanuel Afani says that all of that is not true, and he says that inadequate preparation was actually the bane of the Ghana team. He's urged the Ghana Football Association to pay more attention to Ghanaian players.
I would prefer that in future. I would prefer that. This is a recommendation I may share with my other members. that we need to take very serious look at the local blasters. For local blasters, they can camp, they can have more time to prepare. You understand? It's just a matter of arranging for matches. You want to play one match in Tamale, so 1 weekend they go there and play and come back. So it not interfere with the league that they play in. I think that the local boys, if they have sufficient time to prepare, some of the teams did that by using local material, more of them. And I want to stress that our local players, the 4 of them who went, did very well.
Emmanuel Frane there, and surely the Real Madrid team is leading against Barcelona in the El Clasico game. You have Ronaldo scoring a goal for Real Madrid over there, so they have their noses in front. My name is George Addy Jr. That'll be all for the sports. Have a good night.
8 on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Ajwa Danswa Elk, and I'm here with Showbiz. Patrons should expect a double show this year when they storm the Accra International Conference Center Easter Friday, March 29, for Ghana's most acclaimed annual gospel music fiesta. The double show is to satisfy the teeming patrons who cannot all fit into the conference center for a one-time show.
The world will see.
Harvest Praised, organized by Harvest Ministry International, has been scheduled to rock fans on the 29th of March, Easter Friday. The event has established itself as the program of choice and exposure for many gospel musicians in Ghana for the Easter season. This year's concert will be a double show. According to the organizers, the 2 separate events will both take place same day, same venue and same rates, with one running 2 to 5 and the other 6 to 9 p.m. As always, the performance bill looks jam-packed with the industry's best from Ghana and abroad. International worship leader Darwin Hope from US will be gracing the stage with his ensemble, the Darwin Hope Choir, together with the host choir Harvest Gospel Choir. Gospel artists from Ghana include music diva Ohima Mercy, Kwesi Oteng, and many others.
The fashion industry in Ghana is opening up in dizzying heights and leaves one wondering what will be trending next. The latest fashion craze in GH is the sewing of buttons or similar items onto garments for purposes of ornamentation. Check out my earring,
Buttons, which come in different shapes, sizes, types, as well as colors, were originally meant to fasten 2 ends of pieces of fabric together. It was also meant to make wearing and taking off clothes much easier. But as fashion developed, designers moved further to use buttons ornamentally. This fashion trend might not be very new to some fashionistas, as buttons are most often attached to articles of clothing and can be used on containers such as wallets and bags. But what is captivating about today's fashion is the fact that many buttons are sewn onto garments or similar items exclusively for purposes of embellishment. Afromode Trends, a fashion outfit which recently launched its new collection known as the New Dawn, unveiled these unique designs with buttons meant to beautify the clothes and accessories. Ami Yomekbe, the brain behind the button designs of Afromode Trends, says using the button to make a fashion statement is also a unique way for a fashion lover to exude some confidence. So just in case you don't want to be left out in the latest fashion trend, you could stick a few buttons on your bag, shirt, earrings, hat, and anything you can think of. Once it will be on point.
And if you don't have one of those yet, it means you're missing out. My name is Adwa Danswa Elko. Enjoy your evening.